This week we watched a movie called Afterschool. One thing that I need to point out that bugged the crap out of me about this movie was that it reminded me a little too much of Gus Van Sant's Elephant. Not necessarily the content of the movie, even though people died in both of them, but the whole long shot on someone sitting and doing something monotonous, like on the phone, or sitting at a computer, or throwing a ball up against the wall. Like, it's interesting when you use that technique for a few shots in the movie if that's what you're going for, but if the entire movie is just like long drawn out shots of people doing things that aren't really interesting, it's like, I'm not interested in this anymore. I don't want to watch this. Though one redeeming quality of this movie was the whole play on voyeurism kind of thing and the idea of watching and being watched. I like that because when you go to the movies, what are you doing? You're watching people do stuff or a group of people do stuff. The fact that this was kind of like highlighted in that movie and brought to your attention, I thought that was kind of cool. I also liked how the movie started off. I liked the whole influx of like media and like videos from YouTube. And kind of showing the sign of the times. That was pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty good opening to the movie because I didn't know what I was watching. I was like, where is this going? What am I watching? Okay, I want to say that I learned a lot during this Q&A session, but that would just be a straight up lie. I feel like this was the least productive Q&A session we've had so far. The director basically spent the greater part of our time talking about how difficult it was to get into Cannes and all the problems he had and like the directors he met and their opinion on his movie, which is interesting, but only if we were like sitting in a really casual setting, like maybe drinking a few beers. But that, clearly wasn't the case. We were definitely in a movie theater in a class. I really feel like it was a good Q&A session. I guess the only thing that I did find slightly interesting was the whole framing. Someone asked a question about the framing of the movie and how a lot of the actors were not, the center of the frame and in the bottom or whatever. I thought that was interesting. I kind of like that in movies. I feel like it draws your attention to a different area. It's kind of like when a photograph, like someone in a photograph isn't like in focus and the background's in focus. It's kind of interesting. He also mentioned that, he wanted the actors to play in the frame, which is kind of pretentious sounding. But as an actor myself, I kind of just thought it was interesting the fact that the director let the actors have this kind of free range in the frame, because a lot of times in movies, like, things are perfectly blocked and yada yada yada, and actors always have to hit their mark. So I did like that he kind of gave his actors free range to do what they felt was natural in the scene. I always think a movie is more interesting when things are more natural. So overall, I didn't really like this movie that much. The pacing was a bit too slow for me, and the subject matter was interesting, but I think the pacing and the long shots kind of just really ruined it for me.